morning. Is there anybody online? Okay. Well, it is 7:30. Thanks everybody for showing up. Guess we'll get this meeting started. All right. So I guess, you know if Maharis is coming? Did anybody hear from Dave? All right, I guess we'll do a roll call.
Elborn here.
Jerry Good here. George Jones here.
Gamelke here.
Harry here.
Weatherford here.
Maharis here.
All
All right. Thank you. See? Jerry, could you lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
Of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, so in the packet, we have the minutes. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes or any deletions or changes?
Born will move to approve as presented.
Gamelke will second. Everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a vote on it then.
Born, yes.
Good, yes. Jones, yes.
Gamelke, yes.
Miharis, yes.
Jerry, yes. Weatherford, yes.
All right. Any public comment not on the agenda? Nobody has anything to say? All right, we'll make this quick. Oh. Tava was going to be here. Mark told me he was running late, so perhaps when he comes in, if he comes in, then he could give an update then.
Yeah, you can. Do your thing.
So the packet, you'll notice it's a little thick this time. But I wanted to go over a few things, or at least to have people have the foundation, the bylaws, the foundation plan, and the sunshine laws. And these are all things that they dictate what we do. And they set the standard for what we do. We did have a core request for our bylaws, so I thought it might be important for us to all have a copy of that. So if you guys can at least, I know the packet's all stapled together, but if you could unstaple it, and there's 3 different packets that are in there. And if you guys could at least go over them and look at them so that we're all on the same page. And you'll see that a lot that's in especially in the foundation plan, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff. It says who we are and what we're trying to do. And I actually found a lot of really good information in that. Let's see, it seems like we have a little bit of time. Maybe I can go over. One thing I noticed was that Al Bourne is the most seasoned member of the board of directors. He was one of the original board of directors, and he's been here since the inception of the DDA. So thank you, Al, for hanging all these years.
Yeah.
And if you go to page 6 in that first part of the foundation plan, and I just found that there were some really good things in there that just it kind of backs what we're talking about. If you go to page 6 and then like E, one of the things I noticed was to improve pedestrian access and security for pedestrians in a user-friendly environment. And I really feel like we kind of lack some of that. And I just thought maybe we could work a little bit more on that. Got some ideas maybe we can bring up. And Want to hear your guys' ideas too. And then the other one in G, it says to encourage private restoration, rehabilitation, and development within the district through public improvements and assistance so as to prevent deterioration of existing structures and property values. So one of the things I was thinking, that kind of backs the idea of possibly doing some little mini grants for businesses, if we can, if we have the funds, and we'll address that too. And then, so that kind of backs that idea, and it backs it up in the original intent of the DDA. So I kind of liked reading that. And then the H kind of, to me, encouraged me about the possibility about the baggage car. Says to encourage the preservation or reuse of historically or architecturally significant buildings in the district, including, but not limited to, finding sources of funds and participating in lending funds compatible with enabling legislation and the plans and objectives of the DDA. So again, that kind of just, it backs the original intent of that we're able to do that kind of stuff, and that's our intention. So there's just a lot of good information in that, and I hadn't seen this before. So when Tony pulled it up and gave it to me, I found it to be a really good read. It's really good. And then the other one, it's on M, which is on page 7. And I know we've heard a little grumblings about this one, but it says to promote where practical additional residential units within the district. So if people say, well, we got too many housing, blah, 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 or whatever, I mean, we actually really don't. We're house short up here. So that kind of encourages that too. And then on T, page 7, it says, and I thought of one building with this, and I won't say the name right now, but I think other people will know which one I'm talking about. It says to encourage, where appropriate, the renovation and reuse of vacant and deteriorated structures within a district. So to me, that says that possibly we could say, well, let's get a hold of the building owner. Maybe we could help them to fix up the building, or at least make it look better on the exterior until something else happens with the building. So I just kind of wanted to throw those ideas out there and have a basis for where my ideas came from. And then the sunshine laws. We all need to adhere to that. One of the things that and Tony said this a lot, and not anymore, because I think we all got it. You have to be careful with the communication on your cell phones. If you're talking DDA business on the cell phones and we get a CORA request, they can literally capture your phone and have all access to your phone. So you want to watch that. And then also, if we're out in public, 2 people can talk about DDA business, but when a 3rd member of the board walks up, you need to not talk any business, if that makes any sense. Does everybody understand that? Just so that we don't get any trouble and we stay above board and we keep it all public. We are a public entity. We are responsible to the citizens, well, the city of Woodland Park. They essentially are, I would say, if I can say that's probably our first boss and our first line of defense. But we need to just be careful of what we say and what we do. Because it is their money that we're dealing with, the citizens' money. Does anybody have any questions? Or I highlighted a lot more, but I don't want to drag it on. I just want to make sure that people read that and have that, please. Because I'll be referencing it again in the future.
Do we have, excuse me, do we have anything about the overlay district? Any documents about that?
You mean the boundaries?
The overlay district itself, the rules, the standards by which Woodland Station is supposed to be developed.
You know, I don't know that. Do we have something like?
It's in the zone code.
Yeah, there's an overlay district, rules that, they tried to get, dropped, but the planning department said no, and then they dropped their, pursuit of eliminating them. So I know they're there. I just, I think that would be something that we need to,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'll let Mr. Good finish and then I'll chime in. I just wanted to,
no, go ahead.
okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. There's two slightly different things. One is the DDA boundary, which is the area of which this board has influence over properties within that. Then there is the Woodland Station Overlay Zone District, and there is a section of code in the zoning ordinance that actually addresses that. And then to back to the DDA, well, no, it's actually, I don't know if it's a DDA boundary or if it falls still within that Woodland Station overlay. There's a resolution associated with design standards. So there's the DDA boundary, there's also a foundation plan for the downtown area. And then there's a resolution with design standards. And then in the code, there's the Woodland Station overlay zone that has criteria in the zoning code. So that's like 6 things,
Yes.
maybe 4 or 5, but you get the idea.
Yes. Is that something that you would like us to bring to the table, Jerry?
Yeah, I think
Look
it's
at-
kind of important, you know, there's several issues that have popped up that I think, but we all need to be aware of it. We shouldn't just cast it aside. But there are conditions in the overlay district that are a little more stringent than just normal city zoning codes and all. So I think we shouldn't ignore it.
I'm pretty sure that you're aware of what those guidelines are and that you follow those, correct?
Yeah, because there's so many complexities in our code, I really try to avoid answering on the fly. So when somebody makes an inquiry, I actually do go back and reread code sections to make sure we give accurate information back.
Is that something that we can gather from you that I could pass out to the board? Or Tony, do you have something on that?
Well, I would just suggest, because I guess my perception is that some of the requirements in the overlay are actually more lax. So I would ask Mr. Gamelke to come forward with clear examples of what you're talking about so we could discuss it.
Mr. Good or Mr.
I
Gamal?
mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Good. Sorry, Mr. Gamelke.
That's fine. If you have something specific that might be helpful, Jerry.
Yeah, well, they used to be online on the site, so they were pretty accessible, but I think maybe we need to make them accessible and just not ignore the fact that they're there. Well, I'm not saying specifics about this or that. I think it's just, since we're going over bylaws, things like that, that's an important part of the DDA business.
Yeah, I'm sure some things have changed since those bylaws were written a long time ago. But it is a foundation, and that's all I was really going for, was just to lay the foundation, the original intent of the DDA.
Sure.
Yeah, and I know there's been changes. What all those changes are, I'm relatively new to this board. I have no idea. It's only been around a few years, so. And so I think to add to what Tony was saying, if you do have something, Jerry, that specific that you're thinking about, I'd be more than willing to look that up and we can certainly discuss it.
Yeah, I personally, I think if we just went with a overall, just understand what, that's very important in dealing with Woodland Station.
Agreed. Tony? Al? Arden? Well, that was all I had there. Just please look over that stuff and just have it as a record. I know they all got stapled together. I didn't have a stapler. I would have unstapled everything and made separate packets, but I didn't. So. And thank you, Tony, and for putting those together for us. Park State Bank is still doing all of our printing, so we're grateful for that. Any public comment regarding new business? Oh, he's here. Okay, we'll back up a little bit. Mr. Weaver, would you like to give us a TAVA update, please? Sorry, I didn't see you sneak in.
Just kind of eased in here.
It's all that weight you've lost.
That's right.
You went sideways. I didn't see you.
That's right.
Amen.
You see me now.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Quick update on all things Tava. Last Thursday at City Council, the SDA was voted on and approved. And so that's another hurdle that we needed to clear in the overall process. So that's great. That's good. We're still working on a few comments that pertain to the exhibits for the SDA before we actually get to sign the SDA. So that's all in play, but the vote was the main thing to get that approved. We're gonna start doing overlock grading on the site, just the Tava site, building site, that portion, next week. We're gonna see how weather goes this week, and looks like it's gonna rain every day. And there's some mobilization that needs to occur for Lamb Excavation. That's who's doing the work. And they'll probably start next week sometime. We continue to work with CDOT on those matters that pertain to the access permit and the traffic impact study and the design waiver. All those things are in play still with CDOT. We had a good meeting with them. I think that was last week as well. And it was positive. We keep moving forward. So we're hopeful we'll have that wrapped up in the next week or two. We are looking at hopefully a construction start in September. Pat, I know you want to, I know you're going to put that down in concrete, but that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're hopeful for. And then I'm looking forward to being a part of the discussion, the work session after this about Bergstrom Park, sharing some ideas. That's all I got, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
You bet.
Does anybody have any
Any
questions for Mark?
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Next would be board chair report. I think I used up enough time with all of this. I would like, and I know he balked at me. I would like to thank Tony for his, for being the chair for the time that he was. And I appreciate the fact that you guys would all think that I was worthy of stepping up and leading this mess, no matter what it is. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And I'd also like to just let people know that we are open. We are taxpayer funded, so to speak, but we are open to ideas. So if anybody would like to come and talk to us, or they can reach out to me at any time. My phone number's been the same for 20 years and it will stay the same, and I do answer my phone calls. So please feel free to reach out if you have any ideas. And thank you very much. Treasurer report.
Mr. Chair, very simple. We have one invoice that we paid. It was our legal expense and it was for $108. With the invoice dated June 25th. We will have a July invoice here that we'll pay this week. And then the other thing that, as you know, emerged in the last several weeks is that Mr. Rabeau from Microtel, we had done a TIF reimbursement based on the spreadsheet that this board inherited at a 50% reimbursement rate. And in his opinion, the schedule, it should have still been 75%. And so we did send that question to the attorney with Mr. Vasilati participating, and we haven't had a chance to have a close the loop to make sure we have a final answer on that. I don't know. I'm not it. You're an accountant, Mr. Vasilati. Did you have a read on it?
It looked to me as though it was another year that we needed to do the 75%. So
Yeah, that was my read as well, but we still, the four of us, which in the thread is Mr. Gamelke, Mr. Vasilati, Mr. McCaskin, our attorney, and myself. We need to just make sure the attorney's on board with that, which means that we'll be coming back with an additional 25% TIF reimbursement for Microtel. So sounds like we're all on the same page. So that's it.
While we're on the talking to you, Tony, I was wondering, is there a way that we can find out what type of funds we have for projects that we may want to take on that are outside of just paying the regular bills and reimbursements. Is there a way to find out a rough figure of what a number like that, or not play money, but money that we can pump back into the community on certain projects? Can we get a number on that, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So now that I'm just doing treasurer, thankfully, thank you.
Yes.
What we're doing is we will work with the city and confirm where everything is with Vectra. We reached out to them as the DDA and they wanted the city to get involved in that request. So we need to kind of confirm the schedule with the city and make sure we, I guess, extrapolate that out. Because if we go under the assumption that the DDA will be shut down in 2032, which is possible, then we need to make sure, obviously, that we pay those two debts. And then the reserve monies, I think, once we kind of, one of the things that Microtel did do for us is we're going to go back and take a look at the remaining active TIF deals and make sure we have these reimbursement schedules correct. That's the first step. The second step would be to understand what those, obviously it's reimbursement of tax monies they pay, which we can kind of guesstimate. So we need to kind of pro forma that out, paying the debt off, and then looking at the reserve balances. And we should be able to give the board a reasonable understanding of what funds may be in excess of our obligations. Is that fair, Mr. Basalati?
It is, and we're in the middle of our budget process right now, so I would assume October would probably be a good time to have
Okay.
that conversation.
Okay,
Buys us time to do the homework.
so should we ask again in October or expect something in October?
I'll
Either,
take responsibility for driving towards October, and Mr. Basalati.
no pressure, I
The
just.
city's awesome at supporting us, so.
Yeah, no, it'd just be nice to know in the back of our heads, then we could tackle some projects or at least look into some projects to help
Agreed.
with. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions about the treasurer's report? We have to accept it then. Is that what we have to do? We have to make a motion to accept. Okay.
Do it ratified.
Can I get somebody to? Al?
I would move to ratify the treasurer's report and the payment of the bills that are due.
Oh, second. Excuse me, second.
Thank you. Eric? Take a vote.
Born, yes.
Good, yes.
Jones, yes.
Gamelki, yes.
Miharis, yes.
Perry, yes.
Weatherford, yes.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Board member reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Born, nothing additional.
I'm good, thanks.
Yep, nothing
I don't
from
have
Jones.
Gamelki, no.
Miharis, nothing.
Perry, no.
All right. Oh, this is gonna be a fast meeting. It is. And there's no city attorney online. So there's nothing there. I was hoping this would be a short meeting since we're gonna have the work session afterwards. Didn't imagine it being this short, but I'll take it. Does anybody, I see some new faces that walked in since does anybody have any comments? Anybody from the public would like to say anything
Probably good for work session.
during the work session? Okay. Could it be that we're ready to adjourn this meeting and start the work session?
Born moves to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we're adjourned. So do we want to sit down there or just stay up here?
I brought exhibits of the park, so we can lay them out on tables, probably the easiest way to do stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So who are we gonna ask to move? Okay,
I like the idea of us going down and sitting in chairs around with everyone.
yeah,
That's
that's
what I-
fun. That's fun.
Yeah, just reconfigure those things. Good job, John.